for the moment. Yeah. That's the whole idea.
Oh, okay.
Everybody will be in the main room. And then if we go into any kind of executive session, we go.
Si vamos a algún tipo de sesión ejecutivo.
I have to switch you over, Laura, to translation. 1 second.
Oh, sorry.
And I'm sure Becky will catch up with us. There we go. All right, she's here. All right, so I think we've got everybody on the committee here. So we'll go ahead and start. We'll call to order the Labor Committee of the Board of Education. It's 10 o'clock and it's June 14th. So first on the agenda is the school calendar considerations for Muslim holidays. So who's going to speak to that?
I am, Mr. George.
Oh, thank you, Olivia.
I'm just trying to make sure I had 2 people that are supposed to join me. I only see 1.
Did we?
Oh, they're here. They're here now.
Okay.
Okay, good evening, Mr. George and Ms. Huffman, Dr. Lucero. I'm actually here as a beginning conversation to bring to not just the Labor Committee, but also the Board of Ed, the consideration for amending our school calendar to include Muslim holidays. And I first would like to say that, you know, we all know that we embrace diversity in Stanford Public Schools as well as in the city of Stanford. And our district is continuing to grow in this rich diversity. And through this growth, you know, we become more complex with our student population, with our staff population, and that has also included a number of religious holidays. And so one of the religious holidays we've been having discussion about, it's not just in Stanford, but several surrounding districts as well as across the country, have been around the holidays we observe and how we choose those holidays. And this topic was actually brought to Dr. Lucero from one of our students. And the email was actually titled, "Why Not Us?" And that email continued on to explain the different Muslim holidays. And the student says, you know, why is it that there are some holidays that are deemed more important than others? My religious holidays should be recognized or included with Stanford Public Schools as well. So it was a very touching email, and again, initiated by a middle school student. And so we followed up and started to have some conversations around what that would look like. And we've had actually a number of people who have joined some of our meetings that we have started to have these conversations. And so tonight we just really wanted to plant the seed to begin the conversation, to get you to start thinking about what that would look like, to consider adding some other holidays to our traditional school schedule in Stanford. And tonight, I've asked 2 of our PLTI through SPEF graduates, and they're also SBS parents, who are just going to speak briefly about how this topic came to be and the importance of it. And I'd like to introduce Mason Noah, and she's the president of the TRPTO. She's also an IT supervisor at Ferguson Library, and she's a core team member of the Stanford Interfaith Refugee Settlement. And also Zareen Hussein, who's also the president of the PT Council for Stanford, and also an active parent volunteer in the Stanford community. So I would actually like to just turn it over to them. They're going to speak very briefly, and then I'll close it out with a recommendation.
Hi, thank you, Olympia. Good evening, everyone. So my name is Maisam, and just want to give you a brief about our holiday. There is Ramadan. It's a month where we fast. Right after Ramadan, we have Eid al-Fitr, when we break our fast, and usually we all have our kids take the day off from school. Then 2 months later, we have another Eid called Eid al-Adha, and that's where Muslims go do the pilgrim in Mecca. And quickly how this started is, like Ms. Delfora said, two students wrote an email to Dr. Lucero, but also another student met Dr. Lucero at a parade and asked her, you know, if she can have a conversation about it, about having a day off. I have 2 kids in Stanford Public Schools, and they were having their testing during the same week. And I sent an email to Dr. Lucero telling her, you know, there's a holiday, like how can kids be tested? And another parent also emailed. So a lot of parents have been emailing to talk about this. I work as a volunteer with refugees, and I know Stanford is getting a lot of Afghani refugees right now. And, you know, Stanford is accepting us. You know that we're diverse. So we hope that you guys will accept the holiday, just like, you know, we accept and embrace the Christian faith and the Jewish faith. And with that, I'm going to turn over to Zareen.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm going to be super brief, and I'll jump right into why we brought this up now, so to speak. Just like Maisam mentioned, that over the last couple of years, we've had a sizable number of students who follow the Muslim faith, and they have been missing school learning days because of Eid, and they want to celebrate it just like anyone would celebrate Yom Kippur or any of the other religious holidays. And just to give you a brief explanation of how this works. The Muslim faith works on the lunar calendar. So every year this date changes. So Eid al-Fitr changes by 10 days. And as Maisam had mentioned, the Eid al-Azha, which is followed by the pilgrimage, it's typically about 2 months right after Eid al-Fitr. So every year with the lunar calendar, that also changes. And if we look at the calendar of 2023, Eid al-Fitr will fall on Saturday, April 22nd. And Eid al-Azha will fall during the summer break on June 29th. So in essence, this coming year, we will not have a missed school day as such, but we're requesting if we can put this holiday on the calendar so that everyone can get used to that day as being an official day off in celebration of this religious day for the Muslim faith. And the following year, which is 2024, Eid al-Fitr will fall on April 10th and Eid al-Azha will be June 17th. Now, June 17th, if we don't have those famous snow days stacked on, it'll still be we'll be well into our summer break. But in case if we have the extra days because of snow, which in all the years that my boys have been in school, I don't think it ever ended the day it was supposed to end, ever. So even given with that, we will not have a problem for the June one, which will be Eid al-Azha. But in 2024, Good Friday falls on March 29th. And with Eid al-Fitr falling on April 10th, we are requesting perhaps that if we could move the spring break, because Good Friday right now is falling in the, Maisam, help me, was it Ramzan that was falling in the?
Yeah, so the request is, so after, the week after would be the spring break. So we'll leave spring break and then kids will come back for 2 days and then have the Wednesday off.
Which would be Eid al-Fitr.
Correct, yes. And that'll be Eid al-Fitr. So that's for the year 2024.
2024, not for 2023, yeah.
Right. So the kids actually, when they met with Dr. Lucero, they gave their reasoning about why we should have the day off and how it's impacting them. And we are asking if it's okay with you, Ms. Delfora, if you can share that video to show.
It's a very short clip.
It's very short. I tried to put it really quick for you guys together.
Do you hear sound?
No, I think the sound was off.
Yeah, okay, hold on. Oh, yep.
It's muted. If you unmute that.
Yeah. There we go.
And just to give everybody an idea, that's the people who attended that Zoom for that day.
Okay, let's try this again.
Just like any other holiday, like Christmas or Hanukkah, they all have celebrations at the end where they pray and they're with family. So I think we should have the same opportunity as them.
To the Islamic community, if you could give us a day off on Eid, you know, we really enjoy our holiday. We enjoy Ramadan, and it's a big meaning to our religion. So it would be great to give us a day off because we deserve it. And I really love Stanford. I've lived here my whole life. It's a very nice town. And then for me, that one thing is missing is that I can't spend time with my friends on Eid. Even though I don't miss school on Eid, and I had like this big quiz, so I had to take things were mixed up. It was hard, but I'm thankful for what I have.
Is because you see how during the school year we have like Yom Kippur off, we have Easter off. Those are really religious holidays for people. And what about Eid? Because Eid is a really special holiday for Muslims. It makes, if we take it off, it'll make Muslims feel like they're really part of the community. It'll help them feel like we're not just some people.
I took the first 2 days of Eid off, and on those today, I ended up having SBAC, so I had to miss those days. So if we could have the day off, because some people have tests and then they have to make them on different days. Yeah. So I feel maybe then if we could all take them at the same one day.
Get all the schools closed because if they respect our holiday as we respect the others' holidays.
It's also hard for me when I have to miss every year a day and miss a lesson or a topic or sometimes even a test or quiz. And it would be great to just have time to celebrate with family just as all the other religions and not worry about school like how Christians have on Christmas.
Yes.
So like we get day offs for holidays on my mom's side of the family, but on my dad's side of the family.
Yeah.
Just like any other.
Thank you. So just to sum it up on my part, we just hope that, we can be embraced just like everybody else. And like my daughter kind of said, we want to be part of the community. And we know Stanford is, very open to everybody. So that's what we're hoping for. So thank you.
Be part of the diversity. So thank you so much for this time tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mason and Zareen. And just to kind of close out, as they mentioned, this is really going to impact our 2024 calendar. And so we talked about your consideration and again, beginning the conversation to possibly looking at changing that. And then moving forward, there are other things that we can do that have also come out of this working group, just us being cognizant as staff and working with our students as well as sharing information. We can also do some accommodations that are within our power that are not directly tied to changing the school calendar, such as the state testing window that you heard some of the students speak about. The state gives us a window so we can choose to put those around different dates so they're not interfering. Looking at revised PE schedules when students are fasting, as well as alternate locations for lunch. So we are going to just continue this conversation, and we thank you for the opportunity to bring this to the Labor Committee, and this actually concludes our presentation for this evening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Bellaflora. And we will look forward then to further action on that as the administration brings it forward. So we go to our first of a couple of resolutions, the revised school calendar. Resolution 6/28/2251, be it resolved that on the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, that the Board of Education approve the revised 2022-23 school calendar. It was included in the agenda and board packet. It's to include Juneteenth and I guess January 2nd. Is there any particular presentation from the superintendent or the administration on this?
No, this is just a quick update of the calendar. We missed January 2nd as a holiday, and because January 1st falls on a Sunday. And so that was, and then we thought we would add in Juneteenth. It really won't impact the school year if the snow days don't happen again. So it really shouldn't, but we just wanted to put it there just in case.
Got it. Okay. Ms. Heffman? I'm sorry, I didn't ask for a second. Was there a second on the resolution? A second by Ms. Heffman. Thank you.
Yeah, I just have a question. As long as we're looking at this calendar again, the email that we received about the April vacation, I thought was eminently a sensible suggestion that we ought to be on the same calendar as the rest of the school districts around us. Is there any problem with our moving April vacation 1 week and doing it the 10th to the 14th?
So we just got those emails, and I have not gone to look what the other school districts are doing. So I would like to clarify that before we make that change. So if we can go ahead and vote on it, and if I want to make an adjustment, we can pull it off of consent, and we could do it at the end of the month, if that's okay.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I know that this year we were also out of sync with Norwalk. I don't know about the others, but I do know specifically.
Yeah, what I'll do is make a chart and give it to the board in a board packet so that we can see which, and I have a chart someplace, but I just didn't pull it up because I didn't know we were going to bring that up, but I will, yeah.
I have from CES, I have the calendar, and it was actually split this year that exactly half the districts went out the week before Easter and the other half went out the week after Easter.
Oddly, we definitely weren't all on the same schedule.
Yeah, so it was 50-50. If you were, we were with, it seemed like a lot of the districts in the western half of the county went with us with the week before, I think it was the week before, and then the eastern half of the county went out. I think I have that right, or else it was reversed. But the point is, trying to figure that out before all the other districts solidify their calendars is very difficult, you know, and
it was easier that 1 year we had the regional calendar and that went away, and so it's very complicated because each individual school district decides. And so what I'll do is create a chart, and we can make some decisions after that with the information in front of us.
Yeah, I also think that it would take into account Easter Monday, which I know has been something that many teachers have wanted to be able to take. And if we move it 1 week, it would incorporate everything.
But it doesn't incorporate then Good Friday. So you're off, and then you're back on, and then you're off again. Yeah, so you have to make a choice. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You have to add 1 day to
correct.
To the,
so it's
to the vacation. Right.
So we'll come up with scenarios, and then we'll vote on it at the end. I mean, we'll revisit if we want to at the end of the month.
Thank you, Dr. Lucero.
Dr. Hammond.
Thank you. I love the presentation that was just had. I think I just have a question because, you know, they were talking about incorporating days, but doesn't this Connecticut State Department of Ed require a certain percentage of the, you know, the district in order to allow specific holidays? So like, you know, so I just wanted to check on that, because Jewish holidays are because we have a certain population of Jewish students. Am I right? And so same with—
I don't know that we collect that information anywhere. So does Olympia, when kids register, do we ask them what their religious affiliation is?
No, we don't collect religious information.
Well, and I think that's a question that can be an offline question, because we're not really discussing in this resolution the Muslim holidays. We're just talking about the changes to next year's calendar.
Right. So, I mean, because I just didn't know, just for clarification purposes, I think it'd be helpful to know too. I just always when I was in teaching, you know, that certain districts had holidays, others didn't have holidays. And I always had heard that it depended on the student population.
Yeah, I've never heard that before, but we can check with the state.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
I know we don't collect the information, so I don't know how we would know. But we'll check.
Okay.
We'll email someone at the state.
Okay. Any further discussion on the calendar in front of us? Okay. Here, seeing none, we'll take it to a vote on the committee. Do we have everybody? Is Dan on? Oh yes, there you are, Dan. Okay, very good. All right. All right. So, all those in favor of adopting the amended calendar indicate by raising your hand on the committee. 1, 2, 3, 4, and yeah, 1, 2, 3. Why am I having trouble? I'm getting, no, that's great. 5, super. 5, 5, 0, 0. Don't know what my problem was, other than it's 10:15 or 10:20. And going to the next resolution. And by the way, just a thank you to the people who spoke, Asim and Zareen, who spoke on the Muslim holidays. We have another resolution, Director of Talent Recruitment and Retention, Resolution 6/28/2252. Be it resolved that on the recommendation of Superintendent of Schools that the Board of Education approve the job description for Director of Talent Recruitment and Retention. I so move. Do I have a second on the committee? Second by Ms. Heffman. Discussion. Maybe does Dr. Lucero, you want to speak to the position?
I don't want to take the joy away from Mr. Souls if he would like.
Oh, or Mr. Souls, I'm sorry.
If not, I'm happy to do it, but I know he was excited.
Whoever would get more joy.
Well, considering the late hour, I will be brief. Although I think most of you know by now that I tend to be very brief. This is a new position. And our intent here is to really take a hard look at our recruiting efforts. And we thought that the best way to accomplish that would be a full-time position. An organization of this size typically has a full-time recruiter. And you know, the overall goal obviously is to push forth our recruitment efforts, our diversity recruitment efforts. But I also think that at least initially, there would be a focus on substitute recruiting. That is something obviously that we've struggled with over this past school year, and something that we've tried many things to address. And we think that somebody working full-time could make some impact there. But then also with all of our other positions, this position would not be exclusive to recruiting substitutes. It would include all of our positions, teachers, administrators, paras, security, et cetera. And we really think that between this position and our existing coordinator of talent development position, that they would work well together to push forth the district's efforts. Speaking of that latter position, the coordinator of talent development, we did include in the board packet, we made some adjustments to that job description. And basically the basic changes, I think, were the removal of most of the recruiting responsibilities and then the addition of substitute, dealing with the day-to-day substitute issues, including their initial training, orientation, taking care of their certifications for long-term substitutes, for example, and things of that nature. It's something that Dr. Armstrong is currently doing. So I would say that that's more of an adjustment. And we're thinking that between these two positions, particularly for the substitute issues, that we can make a positive impact there. And I'd be happy to take any questions. And if Dr. Lucero wants to add anything, I'd appreciate it.
You know, I think you all know we are struggling with being able to recruit staff. And right now what's happening is that people are coming to us, and as we are able to get to them, we are able to offer answer questions, have jobs that are hard to fill. We've put some processes in place, but we need someone whose eye is on this every day doing this work. And so I do believe that at this point, we talked about possibly using an outside company, but they are also associated with other school districts. And so they would be recruiting for both and not just us. And so we're hoping that this model will work. We do also have a committee that's working on substitute issues that has union representation from paras and administrators and our teachers union. So I appreciate the work that's being done there, but we really need to somehow put some resources towards this so that we can provide our teachers with an opportunity to have their planning period. So because of the lack of substitutes that are coming in, I think you saw in my weekly message last week, as I said goodbye to the teachers and how much I appreciated them, I invited them right back to be substitutes and tutors. And so we just need to be tapping into every area. So I see this person being out and about in the town and talking to people, because often people just don't know. And that's why they aren't coming and applying for positions, because they think it requires something that it really doesn't. So someone who can follow up on a regular basis, we believe, is what our district needs to move forward.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Hammond.
And I agree that something like this is needed, but my question is, we just passed the budget. Are we short paras? Are we short teaching staff that this position, would be taking out of the classrooms?
No, hopefully this position would help us fill all of those positions, because that's the problem, right? We have all of these open positions because we don't have a mechanism for recruiting right now. And so this is, sometimes you have to spend a little money to get the staff that you need. And so we need someone who's going to be there doing all of that. This does not take away from any of our para or any other positions that are currently in the district. Both were in the budget.
If I can just ask Chris, how many do you have in your department now at this point?
You have 10.
You have 10 in the department.
That's correct.
And not one of those positions can be creatively used for that position?
Dr. Hammond, we've been doing our best to creatively use the resources that we currently have. And what that looks like is someone who is doing their best to fulfill the recruiting role on a part-time basis, considering all of their other responsibilities. So this really is an effort to kind of stop throwing a part-time solution at a full-time problem and having somebody responsible for it day in and day out.
Okay. No, I just thought maybe, because I'm just thinking, it's one more administrative role, and that's, my concern, and I understand Dr. Lucero's. Is there any other position that can be slipped? I'm assuming you've
This is what we do every year. We attempt to produce something. You say over and over again, empty positions, why are they empty? You can't say that in one hand and then turn around and say, can you find someone down there to be able to do it? So this is the need, and we need it supported so that we are able to get people in those teacher seats and in those para seats.
No, and I understand, Chris, you're in a tough situation, but, at the price of, the classroom, that's my question. It's a large team.
Yeah, it's not taken away from the classroom. And I think that I understand what you're saying, and we're not asking for anything more than what people have asked us for, is to do everything you can to get teachers in our classroom in front of our students.
Right.
And I think we need to support something like that.
Right. Thank you.
Sorry, Ms. Heffman.
Yeah, I just have two quick questions. So I don't see anything in the job description that refers to substitute recruitment. So I wonder.
Yeah, if you look on the general statement, it does refer to all the positions that this person will be recruiting for right at the top.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm sorry, I missed that. And the other question is, Dr. Lucero's out and about comment. I agree, this person is going to have to probably work some unconventional hours. And so I wonder if that needs to be part of the job description, that it is expected that this person might have to be available some nights, some weekends. That's just my only question.
Yeah, I think we could take a look at that. I think that would be a fair addition. And certainly as we're looking for the right candidate to fulfill this role, we certainly would make it clear that our expectation isn't, a typical daytime only kind of position, that you might have to attend events outside of the hours. And really the intention would be to have more of a presence at some of our community events, right. And that so that we're recruiting everywhere, anytime that there's a football game or other sporting event or play or something like that, to really go out there and I'm sure the public knows that we need help, but I think to have a person there at each of these things kind of speaking on behalf of the district and putting forth our need for additional personnel.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I do think that if you can build it in somewhere, I think it would be better.
I think it can go under other duties.
Right.
Sure, you can add that in.
Just so there's no questions about what's expected, because it's not going to work unless this person is out in the community.
Right, 100%.
We know that, yeah. Thanks, Chris.
Well, based on that, are we amending the job description and are to vote on, or do you want to hold this to the regular meeting?
Well, if Chris can come up with where he wants to insert it and the language he wants, we could do it now. But if he needs a little bit more time, I'm fine with waiting until the end of the month. Or we can vote on it and then amend it at the end of the month with the new language. However you want to handle it in this one. Yeah, well, rather than amend it, why don't we just bring it forward then? We've more or less discussed it here. Why don't you just bring it forward at the regular meeting with the amendment?
That's fine.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay. Are there any, I'm sorry, Nick, you had a comment on this? Sorry.
Question, comment. Oh, can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's coming out of the operating budget, right? Chris or Dr. Lucero, this has already been budgeted in, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, it's already been budgeted. Yep.
Budgeted. All right. How much is the salary?
At this level, the director level, it would be even with most of our principals, except for the two high school principals.
What dollar amount is that?
Dollar, if you stand by, it's 187 or thereabouts.
Okay. So if it's budgeted in, obviously
I apologize, Mr. Tarzi. It's 178, 276 if it comes in at step one.
Healthy, nice salary there. It's budgeted in, so that's one hurdle that we've achieved or overcome. And we definitely need help in the substitute area because we know, and I speak to a lot of teachers on a daily basis, say on a weekly basis, that we need substitutes out there. So my question to you is kind of in a roundabout way with referring to this question. With our lack of, Chris and Tamu, we both know we need a lot of substitutes in the district, right? We're a shortage. We have a pretty major shortage of substitutes. Am I correct?
That's a correct assessment. Yeah.
Can you have a number?
Well, I mean, our fill rate, and I believe I included that in the board packet, has been hovering around 30%. And that number includes both paraeducators and teachers.
When you say 30% of our whole staff or 30% that's needed?
No, the 30% fill rate means if we have 100 absences in a day, that means we're filling 30 of them through substitutes. Now the principals are scrambling to find coverage Teachers are covering classes during their prep periods. In some cases, the paraeducator contract allows us to use them as a substitute capacity. But just to kind of give you an example, and the interplay between this new position and our existing position, this year we've conducted 27 substitute orientations and hired 190 substitutes. Part of the issue that we're seeing is that we're bringing substitutes on, we're bringing them through the training process, and they're not taking a job. And I think this would free up the current coordinator of talent development to kind of make those connections to figure out what's the issue. Are they employed in another district? Is there a reason that they're not taking it?
I'm going to get to the issue in a minute, but go ahead.
Yeah, so I think that is just an example that we're trying to make progress to address this difficult issue that we're not the only ones dealing with it. But we need to kind of develop the substitute staff to really encourage them to make it kind of a profession, that we provide ongoing training, ongoing support, and making that connection to see, if someone, we went through the entire process of hiring them, but then they're not taking jobs, we should find out why. And then we can make an adjustments on the recruiting side as necessary, or on the current employee side as well.
Okay, so perfectly said, Chris. So what you just said was, say if we have 100 students absence and you're filling with 30% of substitutes, so you're really short 70% of substitutes, am I correct?
So, and that would be overall. I mean, you can dig down on the numbers to split between both para fill rate, which is really low, and the teacher fill rate, which tends to be a bit higher than 30%, but you're correct.
The reason why I'm asking this, and the reason why I'm making a point of this, is because, and this position is needed, I'm not going to disagree with that, or some positions needed, but anyway, it's the rate that we pay our substitutes, and it goes back to our original budget. So are we at a shortfall because we can't pay out of districts or in district people? Is there a budget shortfall because we can't pay inter-district or out of district and get better substitutes or more substitutes?
I'm not sure I understand the question beyond paying substitutes more. And we have made adjustments to salary.
Sorry to interject. Could I ask that we bring the discussion back to the resolution at hand, which is approving the specifications for this employee or this position?
Yeah, well, I'm still asking questions, Josh, but I don't know. I'm still trying to get an answer. So you're not on the committee, so I don't know.
Go ahead.
So we have, over the last couple years, done a lot of things to try to attract substitutes to come here versus going next door. So we now are close to, I think we're now as high as other school districts that surround us, and we pay a bonus. And so if you're here a certain amount of days, 80% of the month, you get a bonus at the end of that month. So we have done specific things to attempt to, but there are school districts that have raised their pay for their substitutes more, that are in closer to Hartford, and it still doesn't bring in more substitute teachers.
So last question, I'll try to boil it down, because every time I say budget shortfall, some members feel like I'm wrong, but I know I'm right. So we're not paying our substitutes enough to come and to be attracted to this district. Am I correct? Are we competitive with other districts?
We are.
You sure? Because that's the last time we looked.
We can give you the data again, but we've put it in the board packet a couple of times. We can give it to you again. And listen, they could raise theirs after their budget season this year. And so we'll recheck to make sure that we are able to. And listen, it's a complicated issue, and I think it's going to take a little bit of a lot of things to fix this issue.
No, all right. As long as we're competitive, that's satisfying.
Yeah, we'll recheck, because people could have changed their rates since last year.
I hear a lot about substitutes, and just like Chris said, we're scrambling daily to fill substitute positions, and I just want to make sure we have dollar amounts to help that.
Yeah, we were competitive last
Okay,
year,
right,
but maybe people raised theirs.
Long as it's in our budget, then fine. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Esses.
Thanks, Andy. Chris, would this person report directly to you?
Yes, Mr. Esses, that's correct.
Okay. So look, I was with you guys until I heard the price tag. Do you really think that the proposed responsibilities are equivalent to those of our building principals?
I do, to tackle the problem that we are faced with. You know, I think when we initially looked at this problem, as Dr. Lucero mentioned, we were looking at to go to a vendor to help solve this problem. And I think collectively we looked at it and felt that, you know, perhaps this is something that we can address in-house. As far as the pay rate, I think we want somebody who is an experienced administrator that has hired many people and knows what our district needs as far as to fill positions for every single position that we're hiring for. So I think we also need somebody that can speak with the authority of the district, that can go to various functions as was alluded to earlier, and can speak on behalf of the superintendent effectively, and really push forward our recruiting efforts. So that's a long-winded way of saying, yeah, I think paying at that level will attract the talent that we need to tackle this problem.
Given the very specific description you just gave of the right person for this role, do you have someone in mind already that could be an internal hire for this?
I mean, conceivably, it could be an internal hire. And I personally don't have a candidate in mind right now. But I think ultimately that's going to be a job for myself and Dr. Lucero to work through.
Okay. I think I know the answer to this last question. How do you propose to evaluate in a year or 2 years from now if this hire is solving the problem that we've identified?
I think we would have to. I think it's a bit more difficult than just looking at have we filled all our positions. I mean, that obviously that's our goal. But in every industry across the entire nation, organizations are having difficulty hiring people. So I would say that should not be the single look as to whether this is successful or not. I think putting together a comprehensive recruiting plan for the district, and not only designing it, but putting it into effect, particularly in the first year or two, I think is probably what we would be looking at as far as the goals for this position. Making positive contacts. I mean, right now we have contacts with the local universities, and we're doing a lot of work in the residency program area. So it's really just to kind of build on those relationships as well. And I think taking a look at all of that would factor into an evaluation of this position.
Okay. I think I'm reluctantly okay with this. It would be nice to see the recruitment plan implemented, or I should say that this person comes up with at a date in the future, because it sounds like that's the real work product, and that's the expertise that we're expecting that would justify such a high salary. So thanks for the explanations, Chris. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Dr. Hammond?
Yep. I want to make everybody aware, in society, we have a problem. Teachers are jumping the boat. They do not want to go into education. So I just need to make that very clear. I don't know if this is going to be a realistic position for 2-year evaluation. The other question I have is about paras. What are we doing so many of these paras are just dynamite. Are we creating programs for them to go into the classroom, to be trained, to get their certification, to, go in that route? Because I'm just telling you, teaching's not doing well right now. And, how are we doing with the para side? Is there a plan for them to grow into these spots?
There certainly is a plan. We have the teacher residency program already in place that we, we're reaching the end of the year, and we have 3 residents that come August will be teachers. One of the 3, it worked for us as a,
not teachers.
I think you're misunderstanding what I'm saying. The teacher residence is open to somebody that already has a bachelor's degree and wishes to become certified as a teacher. And that is one of our Grow Your Own initiatives. And one of the current residents is a former para, one is a former substitute, and the third came from what was an external hire. But the purpose of that program is to try to make it attractive, that, to kind of remove the hurdles for somebody that wants to achieve certification, but just needs to be able to work at the same time. That's the whole purpose of the residency program. We're expanding it to 6 people this coming school year. We're also working with Sacred Heart and some other universities to see if we can develop some other similar programs. So that is currently happening right now.
Okay. Yeah, I think I want to sort of bring the conversation back to the resolution at hand and not the expansive questions about vacancies and such. Dan.
Yeah, I'd just like to ask for the question.
Yeah. We I think have said the administration is going to bring this back as with an amendment. And if you may want to consider, just from my standpoint, another amendment. Do we want the person preferred bilingual, or preferred to? Because I don't think that's anywhere in the job description. But it may be good to have that in there.
All right, we'll take a look at that, Mr. George.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll hear more about that at the regular meeting. All right. Then the next.
Sorry, Andy. Hold on. We have to dispose of this some way.
Gotta table it. Needs to be tabled.
Oh,
as is postponed until.
Okay. Yes. Postpone. Yes. I move we postpone this until the regular meeting on the 28th. I think it is. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second from Dan. Is there any discussion on postponing? Hearing none. All those in favor of postponing on the committee? Becky, are you okay? Great. So it's 5-0 to postpone this resolution until the regular Board of Ed meeting. Thank you, Josh. Next resolution, Principle of Access and Opportunity, Resolution 628-2253. Be it resolved that on the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools that the Board of Education approve the job description for the Principle of Access and Opportunity -secondary. I so move. Do we have a second? A second from Dan Doplays. I keep forgetting who's on the committee here and everything. Sorry, Dan. And again, I'll turn it over to Chris or to Dr. Lucero.
I do have one edit for this. We did hear from the SAU over the weekend, and we had a meeting yesterday and again today. And the question was asked if we could consider changing the name of this position to Executive Director of Access and Opportunity versus Principal. When we created this position, these are our students who are in that alternative program, kids who would be an anchor, or as we create a Twilight program, our remote learning program, the Boys and Girls Club. So many different responsibilities as they develop our alternative program moving forward to give more access and opportunity. And so currently programs like this are named for executive director, but we really believe that we want our children that are participating in these programs and are taking an alternative route to feel connected to a leader that is similar, just like all of our other students in Sanford Public Schools have a principal that they're associated with. We wanted that same, but we understand and are willing to make this adjustment for the first year, evaluate it after that, and have some conversations with the SAU after the first year. A lot of the first half of this position will be the planning of the program moving forward. We have been talking about this for a while now, that there is a need in our school district for a comprehensive alternative program for our students who struggle to be able to be successful in our comprehensive middle schools and high schools. And so in that planning period, I feel more comfortable with it being as a title of executive director, but I do believe that there are other positions that we need to look at what they are named. An example would be right now, our director of pre-K programs at Apples is a director and not a principal. So I am comfortable coming back with a recommendation for all of these positions moving forward instead of, and that will be next year. So you don't have to worry about it. I'll do it as part of the budget for next year. But I am comfortable with the ask from the SAU at this point to change the name of it from principal to executive director.
Okay, well, with that being an amendment, I'll move to amend the title of the position to be Executive Director of Access and Opportunity Secondary. Do I have a second to that amendment? Second from Dan Duplays. Is there any discussion on the change to Executive Director? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of changing the resolution to be Executive Director? Okay, that's 5-0-0. That passes. So it is the executive. Back to the main motion. Is there discussion on the position itself, the job description? Yeah, Mr. Esses.
Just so I'm clear on the sort of history here, there were two proposed additional administrators along the lines. Yeah, I see nodding, right? So we're going to add two folks to help with alternative programming.
We cut one of the positions out.
Right, I was getting there. One came out.
Yep.
One came out in reallocation.
Sure.
This is what's left. And I guess same a repeat question from before. Do we think the job responsibilities here are commensurate with that of a building principal?
So this is where we are. Yeah, this is where we are with this position. We have the majority of our principals are paid the same salary, and except for our high school principals. And so for anyone to maybe say that they want to take on these additional responsibilities, work really outside of the work hour a lot, because there'll be a twilight school, there'll be a remote learning school. I really do think that we need to be able to offer a salary that would make anyone not want to just make a lateral move to this in terms of what the pay is available for this position. So this is going to be a heavy lift. These are our most complicated students. These are students that are not finding success in some of the programs that we currently have. So they will have to continuously be assessing our programs and making some decisions of where we're going next. And so I absolutely believe that it has to be at the level of an executive director salary.
Okay, thanks for that explanation.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Hammond?
Yep, thank you. Anchor, is that at full capacity at this point?
So I would say the good example would be it's over capacity because it includes a lot of different students who struggle to be successful in alternative school. And one of the charges of this position will be to identify what is going to be anchor and what needs to be placed at a different location.
And then the twilight, the remote, and the big picture, can you tell me what the student capacity will be with those?
They will develop that as they build their program.
So they're the first year, they're not really doing heavy lifting as far as working with kids.
So they will be working with our building principals to make some determinations of where our students need to go to school next year. But on top of that, they will also be developing a program.
And then how about a 6-8 program? Will that be?
Yes, that's part of their responsibility.
So you're looking at Twilight, Remote, Big Picture, 6-8, and Anchor.
Listen, those are our examples for you. This person will help us determine what the need actually is. Okay. This is what I'm assuming that if I were taking this job, that's what I would start to look at, but they may have some amazing other ideas, or as they look around other school districts, they may have some other examples of what might be more appropriate.
So I'm just reading into this. You have an executive director and you have already 5 schools, Anchor, Twilight, Remote, Big Picture, 6-8, whatever combination. You could technically have 5 more administrators added to that picture after this.
That's not how we see this working. We believe that the Twilight and the, and that's what we asked for in that position, the Twilight and the remote learning could be one person. So I don't think that it's going to be that clean cut.
Yeah, no, I mean, I want to just play it out into the future as what that program looks, just like Chris is growing his program.
It might be, it might be an amazing program, because what we want is, as you have spoken about a lot this year, you know, we really need to dig into this program and we need to give it the resources it deserves. So if we need addition, you know, next year, I'll definitely be back for one position because we cut it this year. Going forward, we want everyone to, for our comprehensive high schools to be able to run efficiently and effectively, we need to make sure everyone's where they need to be.
Right. No, and I hear you. I mean, I think these are great programs. My other question again is just balancing it out. We have kids failing in reading. We have no media specialists. I know that's more of a philosophical difference between you and me. But my bigger picture is, what are we giving up? And I understand this is crucial. This is crucial because these are the kids that are, you know, when, you know, our kids that want to go to school to learn, these kids sometimes, you know, interfere in that learning process. And that's why I do believe they need another support structure.
Yeah. So, okay, you answered my question.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Duplays.
Yeah, I'd just like to ask for the question.
Okay, call for a question. Is there a second? Second from Ms. Heffman. All those that want to call the question? Okay. Do we have, there we go, okay. All right, so everyone wants to call the question anyway. All those in favor of the resolution as presented, say aye or raise your hand. I see 5. Okay, we have 5-0-0 on the committee. Thank you, so the resolution passes. Thank you. The next item was
Can I say that I really want to thank you all for that position. I think everyone knows that this is a time that we really need to figure out what we're doing with our alternative program. And I'm going to practice saying the access and opportunity program. So I really appreciate the fact that you would support this position. I do think it's going to make a long-term impact on our school district.
Okay, thank you. The next agenda item is Educator Rising Update. We were going to have a presentation from Mr. Latour. What? Is there did I miss something? Oh. Anyway, he was not available, family emergency. So we will have him back at a different date. So then we go to labor contracts. And for this, for both of these, the paraeducator contract and the superintendent's contract, they both need to be in executive session, correct?
No, I think just the paraeducators contract.
Or just the paraeducators?
Just the paras or the super?
I think just the.
Well, the paraeducator's contract is not.
That definitely has to be an executive session. The paraeducator.
I think it's probably wise to do both of them in executive session. Although the asterisk only appears on one, it does say that.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I understand that. I'm not really concerned with the asterisk because we can do whatever we want with that. Okay, but if the paraeducator's contract was discussed though at the
it was discussed at Board of Finance with details of the tentative agreement, which has been signed between the parties
in public session.
It was discussed in public session. Yes.
Yeah. I guess that's what I was sort of thinking through in my head. It's like, so I think the paraeducators can be discussed. And so I'll go ahead and we'll read this resolution and then we'll get to the superintendent's contract. Resolution 628-2254, be it resolved that on the recommendation of the superintendent of schools that the Board of Education approve the tentative agreement between the Board of Education and the paraeducators of Stanford Association, effective July 1, 2022. And Chris will give us the highlights of the TA.
Hold on, let's move it. I'll move it.
Sorry. Good point. Ms. Heffman has moved it. And does that mean you're seconding it, Mr. Estes? Thank you, Mr. Estes, for seconding it. Okay, thank you for keeping me honest. Go ahead, Chris.
Sure, and I will try to provide all the highlights, but it is pretty late, so I'll try to do so quickly. We're happy to report that on May 31st, members of the board, Ms. Heffman, Mr. George, Mr. Esses were part of the committee, as well as Dr. Fernandez, myself, Caitlin Herwin from HR, Anna Gonzalez represented the city for the pension purposes, and our lead negotiator was Tom Mooney. So I'm going to try to give his work some justice here.
Sorry, Chris, I hate to interrupt you, but just in the interest of time, I trust the members of the committee. If everybody's comfortable, I'm comfortable with proceeding to a vote. 3 of the members of the committee, which represents a majority, we're on the negotiating committee.
That is correct.
Certainly seems like we can pass it out of committee. Not to step on your show, Chris, but
it's 11 o'clock and I still have to drive home. So
there you go.
I'm with you, Mr. Delplace. So I leave it to Mr. George how he would like to proceed.
All right. Does anybody strenuously object to proceeding to a vote on this?
I mean, I think you should let him give his explanation. I'm not going to talk, but let's do the work. It's your call.
Public record. You know, we have to get it on public record.
All right, Chris, why don't you give us the real quick highlighted version? You have.
All right, quick highlighted version.
20 seconds.
Going into this, we had 2 goals. One was to take a look at the paraeducator pay. The other was to address the Board of Finance's longstanding belief that we should switch from defined benefit to defined contribution. I believe we were successful on both points. As to the salary, it's a 4-year contract. As I said, in the first year, we're going to increase each step on the salary schedule by $1,500. In addition, because we really did want to address the sped para pay, all of the steps in those schedules will receive an additional $2,500. And all the paras that are not on maximum step will move 1 step. The second and third years are similar, so I'll handle them together. Both call for an increase of 3.5% to their general wage increase plus step increase. Step movement. We will also, in the second year, remove the first step of the salary schedules. And in year 3, we will remove the second step. And then in year 4, that will also get a GWI of 3.5% plus step movement. On the insurance front, We did some moderate increases in year 1 to year 4. It's going from 18% up to 19%. As I stated, all new paraeducators hired after July 1st, 2022 will not be in the defined benefit pension plan, rather that they will participate in a defined contribution plan that will be run by the Board of Ed. The contributions for that plan, the paras will contribute 4% of their salary and the board will contribute 6%. There are a number of contract language changes, but I'll just deal with, I think, the I don't say most important, but the one that is the most significant change is an addition. Through negotiations, we were able to add the ability to hire part-time paraeducators, and we're hoping that we can use those positions to cover any vacancies that we might have throughout the year. So that's the short version, Mr. George.
Okay, very good. Are there any questions for the administration on this or for the committee? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of, on the committee, of approving the tentative agreement, please indicate by raising your hand and saying, okay, we have 500 approved on this resolution. Thank you, Mr. Esses. So on this, well, I'll take this one other item sort of out of order. The SAA stipends and MOUs were on the, just an update on that. We're still negotiating with the SAA. We're down to the point where we'll be going to a mediation session. Hasn't been scheduled yet, but coming up sometime soon. But we're fairly close to an agreement, but there's probably still a couple of critical items to resolve. But that's where we are. Hopefully, within 30 days, we will know exactly where we are with them. Okay, so superintendent's contract, I'll read the resolution and then propose to go into executive session. Resolution 6/28/2255, be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby amends the contract of the superintendent of schools as follows. New contract term effective July 1, 2022 through June 30th, 2025. I so move. Do we have a second? A second from Ms. Heffman. I suggest that any discussion, well, let me just ask if there is any discussion on this. If there is, we should go into executive session with the superintendent. Is there anybody desiring discussion on this item? Hearing none, then I don't think we need to go.
No, I mean, I don't know. I suppose I'd be curious in the terms, and I think it's prudent to examine those in executive session.
The only change in the term is the contract, just exactly what it says. Everything else is exactly the same as the current contract. Nothing's changing. And the current contract is a public document on the website. So the only change in the contract is the extension of 1 year.
Okay, never mind then. Request withdrawn.
Okay. All right. That being the case, then I believe we can take this to a vote.
Andy, I think Nick has.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you.
Just a quick question. This is, I just want to clarify, this is only for the Labor Committee's voting, correct?
Correct.
And then we will bring it to the full board and
it'll be if assuming we all pass it, it'll be on the, if it passes unanimously, it'll be on the consent agenda.
For June.
For June 28th, yeah.
Okay, for the June. Okay, just want to make sure what you all are doing. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Then all those in favor of the resolution as stated, please say aye and or raise your hand. I see 1, 2, 3. All those opposed? 1, 2. Then, and there's no abstentions. So the resolution passes 3-2-0, but will not be on the consent agenda. So it will be discussed again. Okay. With that, I think we are at the end of the agenda, and I'm sure everybody's anxious to adjourn. So I so move for adjournment. I have a
Sorry,
second.
Andy, one thing, the agenda does note something about stipends. I assume that we'll just kick that off.
I spoke to that just before.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
That was the SEA stipends. I said that's still in
right.
progress.
My apologies.
No, I took it out of order because I wasn't sure we'd be going into executive session. Okay, so I have a second from Jackie for adjournment. All those in favor of adjourning? Great. That's 5 on the committee. Thank you very much. Thanks for hanging in there, everybody who I see on here. Ms. Longo, Mr. Goldberg, Jim Fletcher. You really are gluttons for punishment to stay with us this long. Okay, thank you.
I'm doing my emoji goodbye.
Okay, your emoji goodbye. All right, thank you.